Hey guys, my name is Eric, and today we're going to be talking about the Griffin Armament low back pressure suppressor, the Optimus 6. Let's go ahead and roll the intro. Hey guys, thanks for checking out another Hatchet Cast episode. And today we're going to be talking about the Griffin Armament Optimus 6 low back pressure suppressor, and also talk about the 30,000 plus rounds that have gone through this Mark II 11.5 CQB SBR and my experiences with it and kind of where it's at now in comparison to when I first reviewed this thing. So before we get started, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button. Also, if you are a owner of any Griffin Armament products, what do you like about the company? What are some things that you really enjoy? Do you have any of their rifles? Do you have any of their suppressors? What has your experience been? Put it in the comment below. Or if you know someone getting into suppressors, like right now with legislation going up into the Senate, as of today in June on the 10th in 2025, there's a bill that's in front of the Senate, hopefully, that will be voted on where suppressors will be removed from the NFA. So if you're looking at getting a suppressor, it looks like it's going to be a really good time to be able to get one eventually here soon. So yeah, that's going to be exciting. Before we get started, I want to talk about our amazing sponsor, and that is Wetworks. Now, Wetworks creates a lot of different nylon products. They're based out of Texas, and I've talked about them over and over again on the channel. In fact, you can see the code to save some money, 10% off with your next order down here in this ticker or in the description of this video. But one of the things that they provide that I really like, it's one of my favorite things that they offer, is their concealment options. And not only do they have different concealment options like helmet scrim, but they also have this Wraith hood, and they have just released a short sleeve version of this. Now, a lot of the ghillies that you see in terms of low concealment, either it's a full ghillie or it's a half ghillie. On Amazon, they have them for really cheap, but the problem is the fabric shines. This does not have any IR reflectant or shine. If you want to, you can still spray paint it. It also doesn't hold water. So if it gets wet, if you guys seen guys going to sniper school and they do a ghillie wash to try to get everything soaked and kind of get it dirty and into the natural environment, kind of get rid of any of the artificial scents, you could do the exact same thing with this to kind of remove those scents and kind of dirty it up, but you're not going to have to worry about extra weight from water retention in your scrim. Really cool design. The base of it is also laser cut, and they have these different artificial leaves that you can attach to it. If you want to, you can also attach your own scrim or your own veg tie downs. And also the hood is big enough to be able to go over top of your helmet, which a lot of the other Badger or Viper hoods out there do not have that characteristic. So really cool product. They have tons of different things like plate carriers and chest rigs and all different types of really cool gear out there. So make sure you go to the description, use the discount code to save 10%. Special thanks to Wetworks, as always, for sponsoring this video. Guys, if you do also want to come out and train, one, it's important to invest in yourself, but the entire 2025 training calendar has been published on the website. Go check out BARRELHATCHET.com. It's an amazing time to train, fellowship with you guys, get to meet you guys in person. It's always a blast as we grow skills together. And also, Open Gym is firing back up. So any of the Barrel and Hatchet classes will qualify you for the run and gun community. It's amazing. We have our first Open Gym of the year this upcoming Saturday, and then we will have an Open Gym that's available to the public coming here in July. Now that will all be done here at Bone Valley Industries here in Mulberry, Florida. So the membership to sign up for this facility is actually gonna be opening up in September, and you can participate in Open Gym if you qualify through a Barrel and Hatchet class. So it's a really good community, an amazing time. But going on, talking about a disclaimer for this rifle. The rifle was provided to me a while back. I did a video review on this thing, I wanna say about a year and a half, about 2 years ago now. And also, the Optimus 6 suppressor was also provided to me by Griffin Armament for testing and review. So just that disclaimer is out of the way. Now, cool thing about Griffin Armament, I've had a great relationship with them over the years. They put out really good products. They're kind of getting out there a lot more now, which is really cool to see, but there's a discount code that you can use to save 15% down in the description, so you can go check that out. The way that I'm gonna break this down, I'm gonna talk about the specs on the suppressor. I'm also going to be interviewing Ben from Wiseman Company, who also had an Optimus 6. He had the other version, which is the taper mount. I'm running the dual lock hub, and I talked to him about his experience and kind of what his thoughts are about low back pressure suppressors and suppressors in general. And then I'm gonna do a full breakdown on the rifle, how that's going, and of course, obviously my experience with the Optimus 6. So the most important data point about the suppressor is definitely gonna be the price point. So depending on what you get, the price ranges from $699.95 all the way up to $869.95. So a sub $1,000 suppressor, actually sub $900 suppressor. For a low back pressure suppressor, that's insane. Most of your competitors out there are going to be just north of $1,000 or upwards of $1,200 for a low back pressure 3D printed suppressor, which is what the Optimus 6 is. The Optimus 6 is also available in dual lock and taper mount, and it is a 6mm caliber suppressor. So it's optimized for 5.56, but it's not a 5.56 size diameter hole. It's slightly larger to kind of give more of that performance, a little bit more of that lower back pressure out the front of it. For the weight, with the dual lock, you have the dual lock and you also have the taper mount. If you're running a taper mount, it's 16.5 ounces. If you're running a dual lock like I am, it's 17.2 ounces. The length of the dual lock is 6.68 inches, and it's a little bit shorter if you're running the taper mount, which is 6.59 inches. The material is made out of 17 Ford stainless steel with a diameter of 173. It is high temp Cerakote and full auto rated. Also has wrench flaps on the back portion of the suppressor, so that way you can get it off. This one with the dual lock system is one of my favorites. I've talked about dual lock before when I've talked about the dual lock 7. But essentially, every suppressor or good suppressor has a taper mount where the suppressor cannot turn anymore. It gets locked onto the taper. The dual lock allows it to be able to lock into position. So you're not ratcheting the suppressor on. You're essentially getting it to where it stops on the taper and then locking that in so it doesn't back off of your muzzle device. Now, on the very end of this, it does have a 4-prong flash hider, which does cut down on flash a lot. I'll talk about that here in a few, as well as all these additional holes on the front side of it, so that way you have more gas and stuff like that that's going out the front, giving it that low back pressure quality. And there's also inside of this all this 3D printed type of design that allows for that low back pressure to be achieved. Now the outside of it does have, it almost looks like it's either finished or it has another layer that they added to it for a ruggedized feel. But the one thing I can say is with that suppressor, I mean, I'm north of about 5,000 rounds through it. And so far, this thing has become one of my favorite suppressors to go to. One of the things that I'm looking for whenever I go and I look at a suppressor, specifically when it comes to low back pressure and I guess suppressors in general, I'm looking immediately for tone and signature. So how does it sound, right? Is it not super low on the decibels? That's fine. If it's quiet, that's good. If it's going to be a 30 cal and I'm looking on 300 blackout, then yes, I do care about the sound and how loud it is. However, the tone of the suppressor is a big deal for me. But most importantly is also going to be the signature, the flash signature specifically. So a lot of your lower back pressure suppressors, I've talked about this before, usually have a tendency to have more sparks and flame come out the end. Now I have seen some traditional style suppressors that had, 3-foot long flames coming out the front. That obviously doesn't really help anybody out. Usually you'll see that with a K can, which is a shorter style can on a shorter rifle. This is not, it's about an average size suppressor length, but I ran it almost solely on the 11.5 and I also ran it on the 13.9. Both of those, one was a Roscoe barrel and the 11.5 is obviously from Griffin Armament. But when we did the flash signature test at night, under night vision, as far as with the naked eye, you barely can see anything. Like there's almost no visible flash. You might get a small spark here and there, but it's not big enough at all to be even able to see where that spark's coming from and pinpoint the origin. As far as under night vision, you had some little sparks, but there's no significant flame at the actual mouth of the muzzle, which I believe that 4-prong flash hider on the end of this is helping with that, as well as the low back pressure design that's 3D printed inside the can. So the other thing that I've been looking for on the suppressor was its ruggedness. Like how many rounds, and this is obviously something I'm going to keep an updated log on, you know, as I have an increased round count on the suppressor, will those grooves start to fill in? Will it start to lose some of its abilities in terms of the tone be different, or it's gonna have more flash and more spark? You know, that's something that in the 5,000 plus rounds that I've used in it, I did not see any degradation in capability or what the suppressor offers in its described form. So I just like naturally running it, like the finish always just wears off. But as far as the finishes, you can get this in FDE or black. For me, I don't really care about what the color is. So obviously they sent me a black one. But one of the things that I also like about low back pressure suppressors is, one, I'm a southpaw. So like as a southpaw shooter, I'm eating all that gas. And for me, I like to have a more regulated and more well-tuned, you know, rifle. So that way it's not overgassed and I'm not eating all that. And you know, as I'm starting to think about my health more and my lead levels and all that type of stuff, I'm a little bit more particular about what rifles I want to run. I just want a really good, well-tuned gun that is able to not be overgassed and just run perfectly with every type of ammo and any type of suppressor. So having the low back pressure style suppressors, especially like the Optimus 6, is going to not increase that bolt speed very much like you do with a traditional suppressor. If I put a traditional suppressor on, I increase the bolt speed, I get more gas in my face. So lower back pressure, I was like, man, I really want to have that low back pressure quality, but the problem is you usually have too much flash, too much signature, so I usually just end up not running them very much. With the Optimus 6, I had the best of both worlds, which is really great, and it's rugged enough to be able to use in a very heavy way. Had a couple of buddies that actually did pick one of these up. I know that right now they might be on back order, but whenever they do get in stock, had a couple of buddies that actually use discount codes because they do sales all the time and you can get even more money shaved off of this thing. So some people, you know, worry about the weight and stuff like that. For me, I've always used a rule of thumb. If you want capability, there's gonna be weight. Like that's just the nature of the business. So if you want less capability because you're concerned about weight, that's fine. But for me, I want to carry, I don't mind carrying that extra weight because the capability is an important factor for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift over to the interview that I did with Ben from Wiseman Company about his experiences with the Optimus 6 suppressor. All right guys, so I have Ben from Wiseman Company here. You guys have seen him in multiple videos in the past, or if you've taken a class with me, you've also been able to train with Ben. But Ben also got the Optimus 6 suppressor from Griffin Armament, and he is running a different mounting system. I'm running the dual lock. What are you running, Ben?
I am running the taper mount, which is just basically taper mount, just some threads here on a muzzle brake.
A muzzle brake.
Yeah.
So I'm running an A2 flash hider on mine, but what is honestly, like, when it comes to suppressor mounting solutions, what are some things that folks should be looking out for? Like taper, why is that so important?
Taper's great, it's good, it's simple, it's easy, it'll keep the cost down a little bit. But honestly, I'm more for a little bit more rock solid mounting solutions like the dual lock here from Griffin. Again, nothing wrong with this, but this is so easy to use and it's just a stronger mounting solution. That's my preference between the two.
Yeah.
Again, nothing wrong with this and you're gonna save a little money, but that gives me a little bit more warm and fuzzy than this does.
What has been your experience so far when shooting? Because I know that you're not a big fan of running suppressed. First off, first question, what has your experience been? And then also, why do you not like running suppressed as much?
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer the second question first.
Okay.
So I'm not a big fan of running suppressed 5.56 guns during the day. I think it's mandatory during the night. It's another video, another topic. But during the day, you know, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. It's still really loud, and the blowback and chemicals that you get from that sort of thing, I shoot a lot, and my health is quickly deteriorating. No, I'm fine.
It's probably jujitsu.
I'm fine. Keep me in your prayers, though. So that's what I don't like about it. It's like I'm just eating all that gas and lead with not much return, right? So to get me to shoot a suppressor on a 5.56 gun during the day, it's really got to be great. It's got to offer me something that, you know, a lot of other cans don't. So far with this, it has been wonderful. It's very soft shooting. That's the biggest thing I take away from it. Got the low back pressure, which makes it very soft shooting. And it's 3D printed, which is probably the way of the future for cans. You know, traditionally cans aren't 3D printed, but 3D printing is getting very popular. It keeps the cost down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this can right here has been awesome. Low signature, not super heavy, little weight to it, but mostly it's just been incredibly soft. I've been running it on this like DMR style rifle, took it to a barrel and hatchet class, and staying on target has just been a breeze. So that is like a big bonus with the can, and that's why I'd want to use it. You know, I think the juice is worth the squeeze if it's going to give me features like that.
How many rounds have you been running so far on your suppressor, and has it been getting better as you been running it more? What are your thoughts overall in terms of the duration that you've been running?
Yeah, so I have about 2 grand through it, 2,000 rounds through it, of all different types of ammo, and it's been great. I think you have a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Time will tell, you know, as carbon builds up, things like that. Cans are almost a expendable part. You know, they get to a point where they're just going to get so filled up or so shot up that you're going to see, you know, a decrease in performance. Obviously, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I can't take this apart to clean it. I can't take the baffles out. So eventually, that will happen someday. But so far, so good.
Has there been any improves that you've seen that you're like, hey, I wish this was different for the suppressor?
You know what? No, honestly. And, you know, again, because I'm not a big suppressor guy, I don't have a lot to compare it to. I have suppressors. I just don't nerd out on it like a lot of people do. Just from like working with Eric and things like that, people like that, you know, you want low signature. You want to try to keep the weight down. You want it to be soft shooting. Most cans are really punchy. Especially with 5.56 guns, you're going to have to tune a gun to get it a little bit softer. With this, I haven't had to tune anything. It's just worked out of the box, and it's been really enjoyable.
Nice. Now, as far as running that low back pressure, like you were saying, it does help mitigate a lot of that recoil, and actually it improves it sometimes. But when you're running suppressors, and even though you don't run them all the time, what are some considerations for like maintenance and things of that nature with your rifle when you're running suppressed always?
Yeah, so if you're running suppressed, all that junk's coming back into your bolt carrier group. All that junk's coming back there. It's going to be a lot dirtier. It's just something you have to be conscious of. If you have a lot of back pressure, it's beating everything up back there, right? So I ran I think it was like a 12.5 suppressed for over a year, not a lot of maintenance. And I took the buffer spring out, and it was easily 1.5 inches shorter than a new buffer spring. Like it had beat it up so much, to the point where I was just like getting malfunctions every mag. I think we were running a night match, and it was just horrendous. Like It was just so bad. Took it out, measured it against a new spring, and it was shorter. It just had beat itself to death. And I could tell it was punchy, right? I could tell there was a lot of momentum coming back, but you just eat it, you just ride it out instead of like trying to tune the gun to the suppressor. With this, I didn't have to tune it all.
Where do you think that this would see the most improvement for someone shooting experience? Someone that has already a really well-tuned gun, or maybe somebody that has one that's a little bit overgassed? Where do you think that this would shine?
Oh man, I think it's going to shine on guns like this, honestly. I think it's going to shine on guns with longer gas systems. So this is a rifle length, or it's your barrel. So
intermediate.
It's an intermediate, which is a longer gas system, and it just makes it even softer. Like it's really pleasant to shoot. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll work great on guns like this, but if you want something that needs to stay on target at distance, I mean, I highly recommend this.
Yeah, I mean, already suppressors are going to be increasing that bolt speed. So if you have like a Palmetto State gun, it's already over gas, you're running a Daniel Defense, and it's super gassy. We're always trying to figure out how to, you know, repair or stop the bleed with those types of things. So like adding a heavier buffer system, having a low back pressure suppressor is also going to help you out in terms of if you want to run that thing suppressed. Running a standard suppressor, it's going to make that overpressure even worse, right? So starting to think about low back pressure and also having the ruggedness and the low signature is what makes, for me, the Optimus 6 really stand out from the rest.
Yeah, and guys, like I said, I don't nerd out on this stuff. I'm not a real expert when it comes to suppressors, and that was kind of the nice part about the Optimus 6 was I can just put this on, shoot it, and I don't have to like whip out a graphing calculator and charts and, you know, go to some sort of AI program to figure out what's going to be the best solution for this. It was just mount and go.
Can you talk to folks about, one, where they can find your channel, and also what you provide for the industry?
Okay, sure. Yeah, go to wisemancompany.com. That's where we sell all of our goods, nylon goods, everyday carry goods, hats, t-shirts, things like that, and that directly supports us. We don't take money from anybody else. We get support directly from our viewership and our customers. I jump in on classes with Eric from time to time, which is always fun because I get to interact with you guys face to face. I'd much rather do face to face interactions than online, so that's always nice. So look for me at Eric's classes. But if you want to support us, wisemancompany.com.
Also, before we leave, can you talk to us about Open Gym? And I know that's starting back up, but
thank you for asking, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, Open Gym is a continuous training program that Eric and I put together over the years. We always tell people, like, once you train like this, you'll never want to go back to any other training. It is the most fun you can have with clothes on, and it is such a blessing for the community aspect. You know, obviously we all like guns, we like training, we want to be capable, but the community you get out of it is the real blessing. You get like-minded people pushing you to be better, you get to try your equipment, and you get to progress. And as far as progression goes with firearms, there's not much of a better way to do it. Like, you will get very good at shooting with Open Gym because we're going to put you under a lot of different variables and pressure. Competition, time constraints, puzzles, shooting, fatigue, all sorts of things to make you a better shooter, not just flat range fundamentals, which has a place. This just takes it to the next level.
Correct. And every barrel and hatchet class does qualify you. So there is a qualification process. You can't just show up to Open Gym. You actually have to have some form of qual to be able to participate in that. It's a high trust type of community. A lot of these complex drills is available because the shooters in Open Gym are so proficient and so well trained with their safety and their gun handling. So if you want to participate in Open Gym, it's going to be happening twice a month here in Mulberry, Florida at Bone Valley Industries, which is a new training facility here. So if you're in the Tampa or Central Florida area, or you want to make the travel, it's going to be happening twice a month, and every barrel and hatchet class will qualify you. So if you want to come to Open Gym, check out a barrel and hatchet class. We will train you to that level so that way you can participate in the run and gun community. So as you guys can see, Ben really likes his Optimus 6. He does not like to shoot suppress very often, so the fact that he's wanting to run this all the time is a big deal, especially for a lot of us who shoot around him all the time. It's pretty wild that he is wanting to run a rifle suppressed with that suppressor, because he usually just hates running suppressed, specifically because of the excess gas and the increased bolt speed on the gun. So with the Optimus 6, I actually ran the Griffin Armament 11.5 CQB SBR. If you guys have taken a rifle class with me, you've probably seen this rifle in person. I've been shooting this almost primarily for training classes and anytime I'm doing personal reps and stuff at the range. So kind of working from front to back, obviously, I will talk about what I got on here. Got an A2 style flash hider. It's a dual lock flash hider that works with the Optimus 6 suppressor. And I have a PEC 15 full power and an Enforce light that's a prototype here with an overbore systems mount. I'm right here, I'm running a Unity switch for the laser. I typically don't run remote switches, but I just had this one laying around, so I threw it on there and it hasn't shorted out yet. Typically, I'll usually run direct push because a lot of these remote switches will short out. You do lose some voltage and they're just finicky. So sometimes I'll just take it off and just run it direct push on the laser as well as on the flashlight. Now on all of the Mark II rifles from Griffin Armament, they are going to run their low pro rigid rail. This one's a 10.5 inch rail. It does have a heavier profile barrel. It's an 11.5 with a carbine gas length. Obviously upper receivers, nothing different about that. As far as the low receiver, really cool about this, it is full ambidextrous. So you get an ambidextrous mag release, you have ambidextrous bolt lock back and release. So some of your ambi stuff is going to only be ambi bolt release when it comes to the bolt lock. This one locks it back and releases, and as far as the look and feel of the Mark II lower, it has a very mil-spec type of look and feel, which I really prefer. I don't really like the spacey looking futuristic stuff. For the magwell, it's flared, which is something that I really appreciate. It's 2025, all your magwells should be flared at this point. Like, if you're not flaring your magwells, you're already behind the Powerball. So the cool thing about also where the mag release is, they do have a raised indentation so you don't accidentally bump that mag release. As far as the trigger in here, I do have a Geisley 2-stage trigger, which is what I prefer, as well as a full ambi safety. Very, very cool. It's a full 90-degree throw. I have a Dai-Frico Kung Fu grip. I'm a really big fan of Dai-Frico and all their stuff. Really amazing Americans that really care about the Second Amendment, so love them and support what they do. Overbore Systems red dot mount, as well as the Steiner T1XI. Did a video on this dot. Really incredible dot, really good bang for your buck. It's almost Honestly, it's one of my favorite dots. It also has multiple reticles in this, so you can do either the circle with a dot, just the circle, so that way you can use it as a shotgun reticle, or just the dot. It also has multiple night vision settings, and on the back, I'm running a Unity flip to center magnifier mount with the EOTech 3X magnifier, which is honestly kind of the standard. So love this system. As far as the charging handle, this is the Griffin Armament Snatch. What's great about the Snatch charging handle is the fact that it redirects gas away from the shooter. So there's actually a small groove and a hole on the right side of the charging handle. So as that gas comes back, it redirects it away. There's a Griffin Armament bolt because this is a full Griffin Armament build gun. And obviously in the back, I have a QD point for the where the castle nut and the base plate's at. Castle nut and buffer tube, no big change there. It's standard. And inside, they do have their own version of like an H2, H3 buffer, and it has like a hydraulic buffer, for lack of better words, but it's a really stiff spring, and this gun runs really nice. Now, this gun has been one of the softest shooting guns from the factory I've ever run. The only guns that have been softer or as soft as this, not even softer, as soft as the Griffin, has been either well-tuned rifles that are built by armorers or ones that I built myself with Roy back in the day. So, you know, I've gone now on 30,000 plus rounds because I don't have an exact number. I just know it's very high up there and north of 30K. I've run all different types of ammo through this. Now I've run, you know, M855 green tip, M855A1, frangible ammos, 55 grain mostly, you know, steel case, MagTech, some unknown stuff, all different types of ammo through this thing, and it has handled very, very well. In fact, when I was running, you know, had actually Ben from Wiseman Company shoot it for the first time. This was actually not that long ago, probably like 6 months ago, that I was like, hey man, just try running this, see what you think. He kept looking at the chamber because he thought it was malfunctioning because it was so soft. He thought it was a failure to eject or a failure to feed. He was like, what? And he kept looking at it. And I'm like, dude, it's just that soft. And it runs everything. It'll run suppressed and unsuppressed. And that is the sign of a really well thought out, very good quality control rifle that's built well, right? Like, I do have an A3 tactical grip on this thing. Absolutely love that grip. But like, this gun is just super soft. It's almost like a cheat code. I have almost no recoil impulse on this thing. It's super soft. I throw the Optimus 6 on there, and it's even softer. I was originally running the Dual Lock 7 on this, but anytime I do like a suppressor review or I'm reviewing something or an optic, I always just strip this down and put that review item on this gun because I just enjoy shooting this gun so much. Now, I will say one of the things that has recently happened was uncharacteristic of the rifle is I actually started to have a heavier recoil impulse, and I actually did a little breakdown and talk about some cleaning tips here in a second. All right, so just having the pieces kind of to show you guys some of the wear and tear on this. This obviously hasn't been cleaned for about 3,000 to 4,000 rounds, so you can kind of see there's a very thick film kind of laid up on there. You can see all that junk right there, but it started to get a little bit sluggish because I just kept putting lube on it and not actually cleaning it. But overall, like, there's no abnormal wear and tear on the bolt. Nothing has been coming loose. You know, the gas key's nice and fine outside of me not doing my due diligence of keeping it clean. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this apart, show you guys the bolt, we'll look at the extractor and see if there's any abnormal wear and tear items on that. Now, one of the things that we do see on these lug nuts, you can kind of start to see where there's a little bit of wear. This, I mean, for 30,000 plus rounds, like, you're going to start to see that type of stuff, but nothing abnormal. These are all just natural wear items on the bolt itself. All right, so looking at the bolt, looking for small wear and tear or stress fractures. Anywhere there's circle parts on an AR, circles or squares or where they meet together, usually you'll see micro stress fractures that happen. We actually just had one of these happen in the class where the extractor broke and also the bolt itself broke, but no abnormal wear and tear there. And so nothing at all, looks completely clean. Normal wear on the lug nuts for the bolt itself. Now, looking at the extractor, something else, like I said before, if you start to see where there's circles and squares, you're gonna see stress fractures. So we had at one class, this actually had 2 stress fractures along both sides where the circles were at, but the extractor looked perfectly fine. just natural wear on there. Honestly, it looks really good comparing the fact that it's, you know, the high round count. The other thing also is you'll see when I have the extractor pin. I've had this come out in 2 pieces before. This pin looks perfectly good. And also I've got my cam lock and just some normal wear on there, nothing abnormal on that. No stress fractures. Like I said before, circles and squares. So I got a square and a circle. I've actually seen these shear off before. So the other thing also you'll see is you'll see a stress fracture where that circle's at, go right across. Completely looking really good on that front. The firing pin, retaining pin is a little bit bent, so it's probably time for me to be able to replace that. That's just for me trying to jam it in there whenever I've taken it apart in the past. And then also whenever I have my my firing pin, if I have it where it's drawing blood when I push this, then that means it's too sharp, it's gonna puncture my primers. So what I also do is I wanna make sure that this is completely straight. So something that you can do to make sure that it's not bent is when you roll it, it should not have any like jump or wave in it. So it looks perfectly fine. Obviously the table's a little bit rough, but no abnormal wear on the firing pin itself. Now, obviously I'm using the Snatch ACH Gen 2 charging handle. Really, really great charging handle. What's cool about this is it's a gas busting charging handle. So if you look here, there is a groove here on the back here, and that actually is rerouting gas from away from your face. There's actually a little bit of a lip. Reroutes it away from your face and out this hole here so it goes away from you. Everything that Griffin does is optimized to make sure that they are having that rifle that you're running suited best for running suppressed. Also, the bolt carrier itself, I don't have any burrs, just a natural wear and tear, nothing abnormal. Everything actually looks really well. Actually, outside of just it being really dirty and just having to scrape some of that stuff off. But that's the other thing I look for is any burrs or any type of abnormal wear on the bolt carrier itself. The other thing is you'll have micro stress fractures on these bolts, no matter what kind of bolt carrier or bolt carrier group that you have. So one way to check for it, instead of looking at it with a microscope or frickin' really paying attention, you can just hit it with a, you should hear, listen to that. If it has a stress fracture, it will sound like it's dull. And then do it one more time. Rings like a bell. If it has a stress fracture, you'll have it like dull like that. So overall, with the bolt and the charging handle and the bolt carrier group, everything there looks really, really good, especially considering the high round count. Now, if you look inside of the upper receiver here, you do start to get a lot of gas buildup here. So look at all that carbon, all that carbon buildup. I like to clean around the starfish as well. You can actually use an old school USGI bore brush in the back to be able to get all that type of stuff off. But no abnormal wear on the inside of the receiver. Gas tube looks perfectly fine. Still have spring tension in my forward assist, so looking great on that front. And then the other thing is also on your muzzle devices, you can see where the actual taper has a clean sheen to it. So you want to make sure that it doesn't get carbon on it. All that carbon is getting trapped in front of this taper, so that way it's on the muzzle device. Make sure you take a wire brush and brush this off, so that way your suppressor doesn't get stuck on there and carbon locked on. And then the other thing is just inspecting the teeth, the dual lock teeth, so that way you're not ratcheting on, but you're just allowing this locking mechanism to go over the teeth without ripping that teeth apart. The barrel, everything looks nice and tight. This handguard was installed at factory. This is a complete factory gun. No screws or anything coming loose on that end, and still maintains really solid zero for my laser aiming module. Now, if you look here, I do have on all the Mark II rifles, they do have like their version of a buffer, and it's a very stiff buffer, almost like an A5. It also has a 2-part buffer as well inside of this. So obviously with my buffer spring, what I will do is I'll make sure I just have a light lube on it. Here in Florida, humidity gets everywhere. So if you don't have things lubed, they start to get rust. And when you have rust on things and things under tension, once it comes loose, it will crack. So I've actually seen guys come into class and their buffer spring, they'll take it out just to inspect it, and it comes out in pieces because they didn't have any lube on it. So if you guys see here, if I can get this off, probably not. Oh, there. If you guys see, the buffer from Griffin actually has a little bit of a hydraulic to it. I don't even know what to call it, but it's to help slow that down. It is the ARSOB buffer, really, really neat. And the spring looks perfectly fine, still has tons of tension, and good to go on that front. The other thing on your buffers, make sure that roll pin's not walking out, and also that your rubber portion of the buffer is not corroded and rotting. On the lower receiver itself, I am running a Geisley 2-stage in there. This is a full ambidextrous lower, so really nice on that front. And also they have a flared mag well. And what I love about Griffin is the fact that they have a mil-spec style look. It doesn't look like a space gun, which is what I prefer. And also the castle nut that was installed at the factory is not coming loose. That's usually one thing that I will see come loose. If you want, you can stake it. This one's not staked. But over time, especially with factory guns, you usually will see where the castle nut starts to come loose and your buffer tube starts to spin. Worst case scenario, if that does happen, just make sure you get it set. You can stake it, take it to an armor, whatnot, and still have really good spring tension on the buffer spring retainer, or the buffer and the buffer spring retainer. But man, you can see how much dirt is just, or grime is just nasty coming off of that. So obviously, you know, this hasn't been cleaned for about 4,000 rounds, 3,000 to 4,000 rounds, and it still kept running. I just kept the gun nice and wet, but you know, over 30,000 rounds later, this thing is still running strong, even though it has such a high round count. So hopefully you guys got something out of those tips. Now, one of the things I didn't talk about in the cleaning section, and this is something that I actually noticed, is the gun was recoiling more than normal. So typically the recoil pattern or the ejection pattern was, if I was running it unsuppressed, it would be about 4:30, 5 o'clock. If I was running it suppressed with a standard suppressor like the Dual Lock 7, it was coming out at about 3:30. When I would run the Optimus 6 traditionally, it would come out at about a 4 o'clock, 3:30. Like when I would run the Optimus 6, it was almost like it was being run unsuppressed. And so I was like, I wonder why it's recoiling more. Is it because I just cleaned it in that cleaning video? Because it started to recoil more after I filmed that cleaning clip that you guys just watched. And then I was looking at how easy the bolt goes into battery, and I'm like, man, that's a lot easier than it was traditionally. And so what I ended up doing is I looked at my bolt carrier group. One of the things to inspect is your gas rings. And looking at the gas rings on my bolt, one of the gas rings is shot. And so I'm surprised that it just kept running even though it only had a couple of gas rings, which most will, but most guns won't. They'll kind of just start choking up and having issues. This one just started to recoil a little bit more. But that's an easy part to wear out. And like of all the parts on this gun, 30,000 plus rounds on this thing, finally a gas ring starts to wear out. Now, one of the other attributes that you will start seeing in general with guns is you're gonna start to see more like gas port erosion. And guess what, guys? Like parts will wear out. Equipment will wear out the more that you use it, and that's okay. Just keep an eye on your stuff. If you shoot the same type of tool over and over again, you get very accustomed to it, very attuned to it. And when it starts to react differently, you know that something's up and you can go and inspect that, identify the problem, and then get it swapped out. So one of the things that I was expecting to wear out and was the barrel, because hey, I'm starting to get up there on round count, and I talked to one of the reps and I was like, hey, you know, what is a typical lifespan of these barrels that you guys are putting in there? It's a 416R stainless steel barrel with exceptional accuracy and durability. They ran one of their barrels to 47,000 rounds suppressed, 100% suppressed, while test firing one of the suppressors. The barrel was retired due to extension lug wear, not due to barrel rifling wear. So I was talking about the rifling. They're like, hey, the rifling should be fine. Most likely it will be the lugs that start to wear out, but that's at 47,000 rounds and that's mostly suppressed. And most of the time I ran this gun suppressed as well. So that's something for me to keep an eye out as well, is noticing what are the trend items and parts that are gonna wear on this gun. For MSRP on these things, they're usually $1,700, but they're always having sales on these Mark II rifles for like $1,400, $1,500. You add a discount code on that, or whenever they do, like they had a Father's Day sale, it was like 30% off. Like you can save a lot of money. As far as the military and law enforcement programs, they have a ridiculous deal program for LEO and MIL. So if you are military or law enforcement, go check out their program. It's really, really good. I've had multiple veteran buddies and cop buddies that have gone out and gotten these rifles. And even if you're not a cop or a veteran, for the standard civilian, they are always pushing out great sales, amazing sales, incredible deals, and they also do one of the programs where they'll cover your tax stamp for certain suppressors. So check them out, guys. Griffin Armament has been absolutely incredible. They're one of the, in my mind, one of the top companies in the industry. Hopefully you guys got something out of that video. Hopefully you have a good idea about the Optimus 6. Can't recommend it more. It's probably my favorite ruggedized low back pressure suppressor, one of my go-tos. And also, honestly, the only problem with the Mark II is I don't have more of them. Like, I wish I had them in every length and in 300 blackout, because it's such a good rifle. If you like or have an M110 and you want to run like the AR-10 clone from Palmetto State or whatever, maybe you can work a muzzle device, but they do have really cool over-the-barrel suppressors for 308. They have them for 5.56, and so I just love those. In fact, I use a PSR-5 Griffin Armament 5.56 suppressor for my Mark 12. So they have all kinds of cool stuff. Go check them out. Make sure you use the discount code to save some money on the next purchase that you have. But I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Eric for an encouraging word. All right, guys, so hopefully you got something out of that video. And for this, the encouraging word at the end, just to come clean with you guys, I have honestly recently been very discouraged. And you know, there's a lot of things happening in my life. There's a lot of things happening with Barrel and Hatchet and with work and other things. And there's just a lot going on. And you know, there are some really big things that are coming down the pipe that I cannot wait to share with you guys. A lot of really big and cool stuff that's happening that's going to promote community, but also provide people a place to train and a place for hope. And you know, I think that it's going to be a threat to the demonic realm. I think it's going to be a threat to Satan. And that ministry is going to change so many lives that God will use it to be able to reach people. And because of that, I've been experiencing a lot of just like hardships in life, and even just in general, things are not going as well. And you know, spiritual warfare is what I want to talk about. And spiritual warfare, as I've talked about before in Ephesians chapter 6, it's a very real thing. First off, prayer should be our first response. If you're going through a hard time, I'm mostly speaking to myself, but when you're going through a hard time, immediately jump to prayer. Like, that is your first solution. That's the first thing that I do whenever I'm experiencing hardship, because most likely it could be, you know, a demonic encounter. It could just be that life is just coming in a rough time and you're going through a trial or a phase, and God's like, immediately come to me. Give me that problem. Let me take care of it. Come to me in prayer. Let me help you with that so you don't have to carry that burden alone. And so immediately making it your first response, not your last resort. And, you know, honestly, like, there's been times where like I'll feel this like almost this spiritual pressure where I just like wake up and I'm just exhausted and I'm tired and I don't feel like reading my Bible. And it's interesting that when you look at like a military strategy, in order to be able to get a army or a city to fold, they would usually siege that fortress, or they would lay siege to that base. So that way food can't come in, and essentially they starve to death and are willing to surrender or give up the fight a lot easier. And Satan will do the exact same thing. And so like I feel like I've just had this overwhelming sense of just like exhaustion and just like, I don't feel like reading my Bible today, which God calls the Bible, you know, the bread of life. It is the word. It is the food that we use. God speaks to us through the Bible in our devotion time, in that time that we spend with him. And, you know, when that happens, when you stop reading, then you stop praying, and then you start to go through hardships in life and all of these attacks or these trials, and it's like, God, where are you at? And he's like, dude, you cut off comm flow with me. Like, you're the one that disconnected from me. And so, you know, just coming clean with you guys, like it's been tough. And so your guys' prayers, it's a lot for me and my family. I appreciate it so much. But also it's a good reminder for me and for all of us that there are people going through harder circumstances and going through the worst trials that need our prayer as well. So one of the two things needs to happen. One, you got to speak up about it. You got to come and tell people, tell your brothers in this community, I'm going through a hardship. I'm going through a really hard time. I really could use some help. Talk to us, comment, continue to comment. I'm going to do another prayer request post soon. Email me at team@barrelhandhatchet.com if you want prayer. And what we end up doing is we as a community come together in supplication, where one or more are gathered together in God's name, in the name of Jesus, and pray. Those prayers are offered up to heaven and they're heard like a resounding cymbal, man. And so you have to be able to talk to people about what you're going through. The other thing is, praying. We gotta pray for each other, and also continue to stay in prayer. It's like a fight, man. Like, it can be exhausting, but it's like putting on your armor and going to battle. And so that's why when I look at Ephesians chapter 6, after it talks about the armor of God in verse 16, and it says, in addition to all this, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. It's how we do combat. And here we go. And pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. Not just some things or things that you think are important enough to go to God. Everything you're dealing with in life, God's like, give it all to me. Even if it's small or big, give it all to me. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. Pray also for me that whenever I speak, words may be given me so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare it fearlessly as I should. And so we see this message from Paul, even though he's also going through a hardship. He's also telling them, hey, we got to pray about everything. I'm going through a hard time. I'm in prison right now for, preaching the gospel, but I'm still here doing the Lord's work, right? Even from prison. A lot of his letters were written from prison. And so as people were praying for Paul to have strength in those hard times, so we should also pray for each other. And if you're going through a hard time, let people know about it. Let us know here in this community chat about the hardship you're going through, and we would love to pray for you. And as well as other believers in this group, pray for those. And if you don't know what hope in Jesus is like, or you've hit the end of your rope, or you're going through a trial and you're like, I don't have that solution, I don't know who God is, email me at team@barrelhatchet.com. I'd love to pray for you. I'd love to tell you about it. Also, you can download the Bible app. It's free. You can do it here. Some people are like, hey, where do I start? There's an Old Testament and there's a New Testament. Just like you read any book, start at the beginning of each book. So Genesis and Matthew, and just read through. And if you have questions about it, or you're like, hey, I'm kind of confused about this, hit me up. I'd love to talk about it, because most likely I will learn something too. So guys, hopefully you got something out of this video. Hopefully the Lord is blessing you. Continue to pray for each other. Also, if you could, pray for me that the Lord will be there to help me through some of these trials and to do combat against the spiritual warfare that I'm going through, and also the direction to Barrel and Hatchet as we go into this next amazing chapter. And I can't wait to unveil it to you guys, that would happen seamlessly, and that the Lord will prevail, and that he will use Barrel and Hatchet to continue to impact people's lives, not me, but the Lord will do it, right? So I just want to take a back seat. Like Paul says, pray also for me that whenever I speak, words may be given to me. And, I want these words to be the words of the Lord, not from myself, not by my own power and strength, but that he can speak through these videos to you. And so, guys, make sure you train to be the eternal asset. My name is Eric. I absolutely love every single one of you, and I'll see you on the next one.